Hey everyone, here we are for Presence Day number 53. And today I want to talk about two things. One of the things I want to talk about is the dark side, the flip side, the reverse side of the JBL trifecta. So I'll bring that up in a moment. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, I forgot, but it'll come back to my mind because it was just on my mind. So let's look at the reverse of the JBL trifecta. I thought I just remembered, but then I didn't. Haha. So Kimberly recently asked me to put together, like, if I had to if I had to focus people on just 3 or 4 or 5 of the top things at joy-based living, what would they be? Because I have this class coming up called Time to Shine. And we have the trifecta, we have the 12 practices, we have the bonfire of community. The logo, it represents a network who is committed to joy. We have the emotional ladder. And of course, we have Reverend Sassy Shorts. I want to help convince your brain even further about, like, to deepen the grooves in your brain of understanding this JBL trifecta by positioning it in the reverse. I think I've talked about this a little bit, but let's just go a little bit deeper today. Hey, Heidi. Heidi from Vienna. So exciting to have international people here. I don't know why that's so exciting. I mean, it really technically it shouldn't be any more exciting than someone, just down the road, but it is. So there we are. Everybody's special, right? So let's look at this on the dark side. I'm going to just go ahead and pluck this out so I don't have to keep holding on to it the whole time. Okay. So if somebody is hyper focused on peak performance and they don't have spiritual connection and they haven't done work around healing trauma, I would call that person like a type A person. A little mind wandering here. Do you know that there have been studies of people in hospitals who land in the cancer ward versus people who land in the heart attack ward? The heart attack ward people, I think we can imagine them a little bit more easily. Somebody overworks, they're stressed, they're just over efforting in their lives. I think it's easier to picture. But I also want you to know that there really have been quite a few studies done of people in cancer wards. And what you find in cancer wards are usually people who are more on the people-pleasing end. Don't worry about that right now for this here. Remember, a few weeks ago, I changed the colors imaginatively here to, this would be the color red. Healing trauma would be black. Spiritual connection would be an infinite white. Just huge white. So red is life. Red represents life. I want you to imagine what it's like being around someone who is only focused on peak performance. It's exhausting. I've watched people in the self-help arena in the 90s, in the 2000s. I think of Tony Robbins. I took his workshop, his seminar, 4-day workshop weekend thing. It was really good, but I wouldn't want to be an ongoing peep of his. I watched people get very stressed. I thought people who do this and who don't have balance are going to get it. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I shouldn't be embarrassed. My coach died of a heart attack. He died of heart problems. He had this. He didn't. I think he had CPTSD deep down. Like he had a lot of self-confidence, but he was such an incredible human being. He had spiritual connection. I think that this was his blind spot. He was very much in the Tony Robbins Think and Grow Rich and all that. I'm emphasizing this circle right now because it's so common in the personal development world. It's just so easy to get snookered in because the most available things out there. Oh, if you want success, blah, 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 it's right here. And there's a lot of good information, but here is what this here, to me, I would put a yin yang symbol here right in this circle. Now, if you imagine that type A person, they're too much yang, they're too much masculine, not enough feminine. So that's the dark side of this, of the peak performance circle. Let's look at the dark side of too much focus on the healing trauma circle. This is where you find people in, like, let's say, codependency rooms for 20, 30, 40 years. You find the same people showing up. They still look gray in their auras because there's not enough this. I said to a friend recently, if I had, because I see the world kind of divided into two kinds of people, unless they transcend both. You have to transcend both in order to, like, have a full life. But two types of people are the people in the rooms of AA or any kind of, like, active, obnoxious addiction, or offensive addiction, and then the rooms of codependency. Well, the rooms of active addiction, people are using outer substances to help them deal with pain, with inner pain, right? Well, I'll tell you what, the people in the codependency rooms, they are focused on the people who are creating chaos and trying to control them. The storytelling, if I was stuck in a room, like if I had to spend purgatory in one of those rooms, I would rather be in the AA room because the stories are so much better. Does that, like, make sense? It's kind of crazy. What you get if you have too much of the healing trauma and not enough of peak performance and spiritual connection is people who are, like, stuck in stories about other people. Here's what they did here. And both rooms are trying to control the world by focusing on the outer. So one of them is focused, the AA room people are focused on alcohol. NA people are focused on drugs. That's Narcotics Anonymous. Take your pick. The NA people are a little bit more raunchy and more fun because they did things that were illegal because you're not supposed to do drugs. These are the people who lost their licenses for stealing pharmaceutical. I mean, they got, like, these are a lot of the movies that we see out there are people who are who I would classify in the NA or AA rooms. Not in the codependency rooms. Those are, like, like I said, the codependency rooms are stories about other people, and it's like, really? So while the AA people are trying to control their pain through an outer substance, the codependency people are trying to control the world or trying to mitigate their pain by controlling other people, maybe through helpfulness, right? So helpful that it's painful. So, okay, so that's the dark side of if you have too much energy in here. Too much emphasis on the spiritual connection room or circle. Sorry, I went into AA rooms there. Oh, let me finish that thought. When you transcend the AA and the codependency rooms, in other words, focusing on something outside of yourself in order to control your discomfort or your pain, you transcend it by accepting all of you. That is an act of spiritual and emotional maturity. And so that's how you can release yourself from both of those rooms and go. That's what we're doing here when we climb up the emotional scale, when we take personal responsibility for our own happiness, when we go, okay, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And then we had the 4 ways to establish yourself in a magical life. And we had, conviction, flight, flying high and soaring and whatever brings you joy, standing, be still and know, freeze and fawn people please, being good at serving other people, right? And so when you do that on your terms, I might write a book one day called On Your Terms. When you do that on your terms, you're not in either, you don't need to be in either room. Now you have an exciting storyline, you have an exciting, a fulfilling journey of your life. Okay, so let's now make fun of the spiritual circle. As an adult, I was kind of raised in this circle when I met my first spiritual mentor. She was one of the true loves of my life, not in any relationship way like that, but she mothered me, she sistered me, she was one of my closest, dearest friends. I still have her picture. I get to right near me, but it's too far to pick up over there. I keep her right near me, and I feel like she's with me right now. She passed on a few years ago. A lot of the people who would attend the groups that she would have, this was my entrance into the world of spirituality. If you have too much emphasis here and not enough on the lower circles, you will have too much woo-woo. And after attending a group that she led on Tuesday mornings, I went for 5 years. It was good content. But I got really, really, really frustrated because I also had a coach. I didn't have a coach at the time, but I started reading a lot of personal development literature. I got a degree in psychology. I was getting a master's degree in counseling. And I was like, these people are showing up for 5 years and their lives haven't changed. Their storylines haven't changed. And I loved them because they're just sweet hippie people, but too woo-woo. Okay. And so when you have too much woo-woo, it's not, I think about when you're around someone who's too much woo-woo, they don't want to talk about trauma often, not necessarily, but often. And they don't want to talk about peak performance because everything's fine just as it is right now. To use that as an excuse to not grow is a turnoff to me. So when I'm around people like that, I don't want to talk about how much I'm growing because either it will make them jealous or they will turn off from me. They might cheer me on, but they're not with me. They're not in the arena. They're still separate from the arena. Now we're going to take this to the next level. I think you're going to like this. Okay. Let's say you, so I hope those 3 circles in the dark side are clear to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. If you're here live right now, ask me here at Crowdcast. But later on, if you have any questions or you want to share any insights, share that at Patreon because I will not see your comments here at Crowdcast. But right now, this is where my eyes are on the screen. So, and if I'm doing a good job, you can give me a thumbs up. So if you have somebody, let's start from the beginning here. If you have somebody who's peak performance and healing trauma, if they're focused just on these 2, I think I just flipped from the dark side to the regular side because my brain is getting confused a little bit. Okay, let's see. If we have somebody who's type A, let me do an easier one. I thought I had this really clear, but I didn't take it to that level by myself before. Let's see. Somebody who's too woo-woo. I'm giving you lots of broad stroke judgments here. Someone who's woo-woo and type A. Someone who's woo-woo and type A. Oh my God, I don't like being around that person. That's what I'm doing in my brain right now. I'm like, what's that person like? Oh, because now they're like, I'm going to get everything done. I'm going to have everything I want. And see, I'm turning to my magic crystals and everything's going to, and then I go, I'm really sad right now. Oh, come on. Or they might be with me for one moment, but they're not really present with me. I don't trust them to be present with me. They will further traumatize what is not trauma that is not transformed gets transferred. And these people will transfer it faster and stronger than just about anybody else because they feel righteous in who they're being in their type A, and they're not wanting to slow down enough to be with themselves. They're running, they're in fight flight. not fun, not good, not healthy, not okay, not safe. And they're right. So this is not a judgment on them. I've been there. I've done that. It's not pleasant. When I didn't know about CPTSD, um, it, I tried all kinds of things. And so I'm sure that there were times in my life, periods, years of my life where I was really out of balance. So me too. So let's say we have somebody who is woo-woo and martyrdom. Oh my God. That would be the codependency rooms uh, with crystals. Um, so they're willing to talk about trauma, but then you say, and they're willing to pray. They'll talk to you about trauma and they'll pray. But then you're like, okay, let's talk about what's next for you. And then they just kind of dissociate, or they attack you, or they just feel too much pressure. And so woo woo and victimhood, martyrdom, that's the dark side of the trifecta with these two beings. It's ugh. Martyrdom and crystals. When I'm around people like that, I am just not interested. I used to be. I used to work on a suicide hotline, volunteer on a suicide. I mean, I'm not saying that people don't deserve help and don't deserve to be treated kindly. I am saying that I treasure people who value joy, and joy includes whatever your version of peak performance is, whether it's being a CEO or a housewife or building sandcastles on the beach, whatever it is for you. Or it's meditating a lot, whatever it is. I know one of my meditation teachers has meditated more than 1,000,000 hours, like officially. And he's incredible. He's one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met in my life. So it's not up to anybody else to decide what peak performance is for you. But so you can imagine if somebody's like woo woo and martyrdom, they're very heavy. When I'm around them, I feel like I keep seeing rocks in my mind. Like the heaviness of being around them is like I have to be careful not to take on their baggage with my own empathy and sensitivity. And so as soon as I see they're not willing to step forward for themselves, I just I take here. Senor Leflouf, Monsieur Leplume. Monsieur Leplume is his official name, but I have nicknames for him. So, okay, so then we can go back down here. Let's see, somebody who's type A and martyrdom victimhood. Oh my goodness, I have known people in this arena really stressed, lots of problems, always somebody else's fault. They could be CEOs, they could be a parent with a lot of energy. And then you go, well, let's work on this, uh, let's heal this, let's figure it out. And they're like, oh yeah, but blah 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 blah. And they'll go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they'll say that joy is important and that spirituality is important, but they don't put it into practice. They're just too busy feeling bad. And I have to leave those people with a sense of they're making their own choices. Usually I don't bump into people like that because they're too busy making their own messes, and they don't want to slow down enough to have a real conversation. But that can be tough. That can be really, really tough because they don't want to slow down enough to be present with themselves. Let's see, victimhood, martyrdom, and type A. You can imagine someone in a hospital ward, in the heart attack ward, and just being like, it's not my fault, da, 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 da. You gotta fix this, gotta fix that. They're spinning. They're kind of like, do you remember that cartoon character called the Tasmanian Devil? Except imagine if the Tasmanian Devil was like a martyr. I think about a show like Downton Abbey, which really covers like the whole gamut of people's personalities. I'm sure if I like did an analysis of Downton Abbey, I could find each one of these characters there. Okay, so now let's look at the three as a whole. I don't know that I can flip that to the dark side because I think it transcends that, but I'm not positive. I'll think about it. You can think about it too, but if somebody's, let's see, if somebody's got, let me try it. Let me try it on. Thank you for listening while I do this out loud. Inspired. If somebody's too woo-woo and they're type A and they're in martyrdom victimhood, oh my God, there is a dark side to this. This is great. This is great. Okay, I can see it. Too woo-woo and type A and martyrdom victimhood. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, when I was traveling, I lived with some of those people. Too woo-woo and victimhood martyrdom and type A. Oh my God. And guess what? They're dead now. Both of them. Oh, yeah, there's a little edge in my voice there, but makes me feel okay about talking about them because they're no longer here. Way too woo-woo. Very, very, very driven. And never, the problem is never their fault. It's always somebody else's. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. In fact, when one of them died, I was like, good riddance. I mean, I wasn't angry. I felt indifferent. I don't think I've ever felt indifferent towards somebody else's death ever. Ever. Somebody dies, I feel something. I feel something. I was like, and other people said the same thing, just indifference. Like, okay. Like these are people who don't care about anybody else. They're very, very, very self-centered. So too woo-woo, too much martyrdom victimhood, too much type A, there's no getting through. That's a lot of walls. That's a lot of walls. And so people have a right to be who they are, and I have a right to walk away. So let's end on a positive note. So if somebody's got a sense of spiritual connection, they care about their relationship with something much larger than them in a way that feels loving. And if you want more to remember about that, go back to presence video number 1, because I talk about the feeling in yourself around that. So if you have spiritual connection, if you have self connection, and you have connection with a sense of who you want to become, and you are living into that, like growing into larger shoes, or stretching like a tree, just growing, that is a really fun, beautiful state of being. I'm going to use the word belief instead of connection, and you can feel that one too. So believing in something bigger than you, that loves you, that you're connected with, dancing with life, believing in your own self connection with your own self, believing in you, believing that you deserve joy, believing that you deserve to feel comfortable and wonderful. And what's that word I really like? Healthy attachment, secure attachment, believing that you deserve secure attachment within yourself. And I've heard a phrase called earned secure attachment with others. And so believing in others, letting them believe in you, that's what happens when you're in peak performance. I've never seen somebody achieve peak performance all by themselves. So I'm debating about whether or not to end with Reverend Sassy Shorts. I think I will, and we'll close it with that. We're going to end this with Reverend Sassy Shorts. Oops. Let's see what we've got here. Where's Reverend Sassy Shorts? Uh-oh. There he is. Okay. Reverend Sassy Shorts keeps losing his, her, what do you call it? Cape. Keeps falling down. I think it's very funny. So here we have, what are we talking about today? This actually gives us like a whole larger picture in terms of what we're talking about conceptually. We're talking about dehumanization versus authentic connections. Can you see that? That the dark side of the joy-based living trifecta is all about dehumanization. That's how we dehumanize ourselves and each other. And the light side of the joy-based living trifecta is all about authentic connections. And that's what we are committed to here at Joy-Based Living. And I always like to say that in order to combat the perfectionism that seems to be instilled in our society and our culture these days, we practice authentic connections with practice number 1 in the 12 practices includes imperfect and awesome. Imperfect and awesome. And that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us strong. And that's what keeps us winning. And so this battle that you see on this playful little page here, this battle that you see is a battle that each one of us has inside of ourselves. And it's something that we face every single day within our culture. We get to choose how to treat the waitress. We get to choose how we treat our intuition. We get to choose how we treat our friends. And that includes being present. That includes being present, reaching out to someone and saying, hey, just wanted to check in with you, reaching out to someone and saying, thank you for being you. Thank you for practicing good qualities in your life, letting them know what you appreciate about them, and then strengthening those bonds, strengthening those secure attachments and making them stronger within yourself and within your community. I appreciate you so much for being here. This is actually, you could feel it today, I think, an evolving, very present conversation that is emerging and evolving as we speak. Your presence, your comments, your questions, your encouragement, your interest from your heart keeps me going, keeps this conversation alive and rich. And thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.